right, we're going to take a break for a second because I've had a couple questions and they're perfect questions. And what's your name? Elaine has allowed me to do this publicly, I think, right? I kind of said, can I do this up here? And she said, yeah. So Elaine, stand up for a second and give them the 30 seconds you just.
Oh. So I have a global e-commerce. It's a luxury lifestyle brand. We do retail, so it's catering to men and women. It's global. It's your designer branded items. So
Men
it's
and
more
women, you said?
men and women,
What age?
pretty much 25 to 70, 75,000 plus income. It's more that, you live that luxury lifestyle.
Excellent. So here's, Elaine and I are sitting down. I'm just one data point, by the way. I don't necessarily have, if I had the answer for every one of you, I'd probably just do it myself and make lots of money. So it's more of a discovery process. So my view, Elaine, is that though you might find a couple grandmas at 75 and a couple, did you say 15? Or what was it, 25? And you might find male and female buyers as well, that the messaging and the marketing to scale this business, I have to have some affinity. And so imagine what I say, people, is imagine if you had to put a picture on your website of your perfect customer, right? Most of us buy, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Most of us engage with a product or service because we find that they're talking to me, right? That I'm in their tribe, that they know me. And so if I see a picture, if I'm a 64-year-old and I see a picture of a 25-year-old, I'm not going to find affinity, and vice versa. So I would encourage you to narrow that, actually have multiple segments. Maybe you'd even have multiple landing pages, multiple doors in, but the affinity has to be narrower, or I'm afraid that you won't build scale fast enough to get past your first initial, even if you have 100 customers today, your real goal is to get to thousands and thousands. And so I would say that that was too narrow. That was too broad, that we need to narrow or sub-segment those. So I would probably go 25 to 35. I would also consider, especially with luxury goods, depending on, are they like fashion stuff as well?
Yes,
So it's all apparel. So I would say, now this is, obviously I'm Mr. Fashion. So I'm not the best person to ask about fashion, but I would say fashion is so niche-y, right? That the fashion that a 75-year-old would want and a 25-year-old want, and the fashion between a guy and a woman and everything in between is so different that I'd want to, I might start with women first or start with men first, right? And make sure all the products fit that. That's how, just think of the catalog industry, right? Right? The catalogs are all, everything that's kind of in that, you don't have a full smorgasbord. Hopefully that makes sense. That's why we have to segment, because I want to find out, and by the way, you've been doing this for 8 months, you already got some revenue. That sometimes can trick you to go, ooh, I'm off and running. But that's not going to help you build the foundation that you can use to scale your business to thousands and thousands and thousands, which is really what you want, right? Thousands of customers. Make sense, everyone? This is why we're doing it. So in the back row, remind me your name? Sherry. So she has a piece of software that's for 3 segments: municipalities, museums, and first responders. And I said, fantastic. Pick one. Pick one to start with. Now, by the way, at this discovery phase, maybe I'd ask you to go talk to 15 people in each of the 3 and seeing which ones it's really resonating stronger with when you do your problem interview, right? That's how I would approach it. Which is why for the first X number of months, we're not building anything, possibly. We're just going out and trying to talk to as many people as possible. Surveys can help sometimes, but surveys also, people, let's be honest, we've all done surveys. Sometimes we're not honest. Sometimes we just try to click, yeah, sure, we're not thinking about it. So I'd rather go do the one-on-ones. I think that's the best way to really understand, these segments. Make sense so far? And by the way, minimum of 15 people, would like more like 25 or 30. Did everyone that's an introvert just kind of crawl into a ball? I realize I'm extroverted. I can stand up here. I can do this all day long. But I'm going to tell you, the value is amazing when you build these connections with people and what you'll start to find out and how it'll help impact and the direction and the focus, which is really critical at this point. Okay? I do this workshop, typically lasts, I do 1-day versions, 2-day versions, 5-day versions, rarely a hour and a half version or hour and 15 because we ran late. So I'm sneaking through this, but when I do the longer version, we'll spend an hour on this. I'll get more of you to stand up. We'll keep working this down. We'll actually have a sheet up, right? And we'll start to narrow. All right. Do you like the graphics, by the way? Yeah. I'm starting to use generative AI in Midjourney to replace these one by one, but yeah, I kind of like them. A year ago you had to go find free clip art, right? But you get the mentality. Think like a 10-year-old. Think really simple. All right, so we've talked about kind of the problem or the opportunity we're trying to address. We talked about maybe some customer segmentation. Now we got to think about our products or service that we're going to roll out. And I know that you've spent most of your time on this. I'm going to look you all in the eye and say, we're all builders. We can't wait to build shit, right? And we've built this out perfectly in our head, right? Am I right? But I'm going to tell you for who? For you, but we don't know for anybody else yet. That's why we did the first two things. So if you are building stuff, I'd like to ask you to put it on pause. In fact, when I ran my accelerator for 6 years, and I invested $50,000 with 7 or 8 companies, I'd come in for 12 weeks. The first thing I did, they were all tech companies, I say, code freeze. You can't write any more code for 3 weeks. You can't build anything out. They probably did it at night, but not during the day when I could see them. I want you to stop, and I want to figure out what the biggest assumptions are in your business and make sure we have a means of validating those before you spend one more minute building product. Apps, websites, right? I realize that's the fun part, okay? But it might be premature. So obviously we want to kind of define what that is. Here's my biggest thing. Why do startups fail? That's a question for you all. I already told you the answer. Run out of time or money. How many people are considering a piece of software, web, or app and don't know how to write code? Any of you? And the first thing you're like, how do I go hire someone to do that? In other words, how do I go spend money? I will tell you that in probably 60 to 75% of the cases, that money will be wasted. You will build something that nobody wants because you haven't done the pre-work yet, okay? You're in a process of discovery, including discovering what exactly your product is. The world is littered with products and features that nobody has ever seen. How many use Google Sheets or Excel? How many features are in those? Millions, thousands. We all use 10 of them. Google and Microsoft can afford to build all those features because the product's been around for 30, 40 years. You can't afford to build stuff that people don't want or aren't going to use, okay? So to do that, when we think about this process of the product, I always think about what do I need? This is the fort, right? So who built an outside fort with wood? Oh, come on. Don't. All right? What's the first thing you decided to do? Where we were going to borrow the wood from down the block where they were building that house. At 5 o'clock, they just left it there. They were not using it, is what you said as a 10-year-old, right? You get the idea here. Not everything has to, you aren't a big company that goes out and buys stuff. Don't be afraid to barter or borrow, right, or rent stuff that you need. I've been pretty darn successful. I've built lots of startups. I've done well financially, and I'm still a cheap bastard who hates to spend money on stuff that's wasted. And anybody who knows me can nod their head. I'm seeing if anybody knows me. They know this, right? So I will barter for lots of things. Can you give me time? I have a very good friends in Charlotte who run an awesome web design and creative agency, a little two-person husband and wife team. I've worked with them for years. I helped them get clients, and I called them a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I need a new deck for my speeches. They're like, can you recommend anybody? They're like, yeah, we'll do it. We got your back. And we walked through a whole generative AI stuff, and because that's what their secret is. And they did it for me because over the years, I introduced them to clients like you all who, when you come to me and say, I need some design help, I'm like, I got just the peeps for you. I barter for stuff all the time. Don't be afraid to do that. Why? Because why do startups fail? Time and money. Every one of those dollars that you have, like, don't deplete your savings to hire some developer that you don't know anything about who's going to build something that nobody wants. I've seen that once, I've seen it 1,000 times. And like fort building, what are the things I need that are within arm's reach, right? Quick to find, how do we hack this together? Now, some of you then know, that's supposed to be over there in the solution, but the MVP, right? Have you heard this? It's like early adopters. This is the language of entrepreneurship today. So it stands for minimal viable product. Every one of those words is important. If you want a little Bible to read about how to create the right mindset of discovery, read Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's been around for about 10 years. It is the Bible today. And when you're done reading it, read it again. I have an iPad version. When I sit on airplanes, I just open up random pages and start reminding myself of what it's about. Eric Ries, Lean Startup. The MVP is, let's get something that is not our 1.0, is not good looking by definition, is not, maybe not even a piece of software. Maybe it's a form and a spreadsheet and something, that allows us to go out and talk to people and show people things. The last business I built was a multi-million-dollar consulting business. I made everything in spreadsheets and PowerPoint and let them just fill stuff in, right? Like, it didn't have to be fancy. I didn't need anybody to code anything. I only had 5 clients to start with, and they were the kind of people who wanted to go on the ride with me. They were innovators. You don't have to build software for a software product. And lots of ideas in Eric Ries's book. If you're thinking that that you get one shot with the customer and you might be embarrassed of what you put in front of them, then you're talking to the wrong people, because the innovators and early adopters don't care. They want to be along. They want the chaos. They want the crappiness, right? They're willing to live with that. You want to find those people because they're going to be the people that convince the early majority that they should join in. And they don't make you write perfect code. Perfection is the enemy of the good. You can't afford to be perfect. Okay. If you want examples, here's my favorite 2 examples. I already gave away the answer. I should build slides because I usually try to do this. Who remembers when Facebook, you had to have a .edu address to get on Facebook? Guess what, though? You didn't raise your hand. In the first 3 years almost of Facebook, you had to be a college student with a .edu address to get on Facebook. Most people think that was probably a couple weeks or a couple months. It was almost 3 years before they opened it up to everyone. Crawl, walk, run. Even the biggest companies that looked like they had a huge hockey stick acceleration had a long tail before they started to do that. My favorite is Tony Hsieh, who built Zappos. When he first started his website for his shoes and sneakers, he only carried the ones that were at his local store. He didn't have inventory. He didn't waste his money on inventory. He put those shoes up. When someone bought, he went out to the shoe store, he bought them and shipped them to them. It wasn't whether he had the right shoes. He just wanted to see the full crank, a full life cycle of what a customer wanted and how he could develop them and market to them and build a tribe among those early people. And with that, he got momentum till he finally got to the place. What was Amazon's first business? Books. Do you think he bought thousands and thousands of books and put them in inventory? Do you know why he went to Seattle from New York? Because Ingram Micro is the biggest book distributor in the world, was in Seattle. He basically used their warehouse as his inventory in the early stages so he could get the thing going. You don't have to buy stuff to get started. That's deep. Okay? And they're the, Tony Hsieh and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg are three of the most famous entrepreneurs in the world. So I'm probably guessing none of us are as smart as them. And they took the long tail road, right? In terms of the solution, I'm going to just dabble in this one little area about key metrics. There are ways to judge progress. I'd like you to choose one. And you may change that over time. But when you're in discovery process, maybe the first metric is talking to 30 people. Not how much I sold, whether I got my product up and ready, whether I got it filled with stuff. Make the metric enforce so that when you look in the mirror and you say, am I doing the right things, you can also not rationalize that to yourself. I like coming up with one metric, usually lasting at least a month, that says, the most important thing for me to do right now is this, and this is a metric that I could gauge my progress. Yeah. Don't confuse activity with progress. There's so many of us, and I get caught in it too. Oh my God, I'm swamped. I'm doing so many pitches. I'm out at all these pitch competitions. Is that building your business? No. Right? A lot of times we feel busy, like, oh my God, I'm meeting after meeting after meeting. Are those meetings actually helping to drive your business, or they feel good? Key metric, choose one. Don't confuse activity with progress. All right, let's take 5 minutes, and I want you to just jot down notes or talk it into your phone. Tell me what an MVP looks like for your product. And I know 5 minutes is not enough, but just for the sake of this, I'll give you 5 minutes to do that, and then we'll finish up. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's getting better. How we doing so far? Are we getting kind of the idea of what we're trying to do here, right? I'm trying to simplify the process. I'm trying to give you a little more confidence of a little bit of a roadmap that you can build for yourself, how you can hold yourself accountable, that you can kind of continue to, in this discovery process, learn more about your customers, your potential customers, maybe a little bit more about what specific problem you're trying to solve, maybe how to go find about doing that. In the back row, Sai was just talking about an idea about building kind of a data analytics kind of piece to help small shop owners understand more about what's happening in their sales. My son, who's 30, has a side hustle running a skateboard shop and vintage clothing in Chapel Hill. He's running it off of Shopify. I don't know anything about retail. I helped him a lot. I'm his dad, so he doesn't listen. What do I know about business? But in all seriousness, I don't think I've had to go in and export Excel, stuff out in Excel, match shit that wasn't already working to figure out which products or how much of categories the best I can do is get him to think about categories. By the way, you're selling more of this than that. Maybe we should hold a little more inventory of that, right? I tell you that idea to say that if I went to him, as I was just telling Sai when my little buzzer went off, if I said to him, hey, would you pay $25 a month for a data analytics program that will tell you what products, he would say, I already know what frickin' products sell and don't sell. You wouldn't know that until you go talk to 25 shop owners. There is a problem there, but if they don't recognize the problem, it's really difficult in a business to convince them they have the problem and then convince them that you're the solution to the problem. It's really easier when you find people who already admit to having the problem and want to find a way to solve it. Does that make sense? So you might find that a data analytics platform is not actually the way. What he wants is a report that's different or is texted to him. Like, right? Maybe doesn't need something fancy. He just wants reminded, here were your top 3 sellers this week and here were your bottom 3 sellers. I'm making this up on the fly, right? So it's not just, that's where the product kind of can be bent and, right? But you can't know that until you go talk to 15, 25 people, then get them starting to use your crappy MVP, and then see what they're actually doing. You get the kind of the flow of what we're trying to do here? I almost drank out of the microphone. All right, we have 12 to 15 minutes. As I said to Dan earlier, I'm German and I'm anal, so when you're 5 minutes, when you're on time, you're 5 minutes late. So being 15 minutes late today, you saw me, I was like, I can't help but try to get back on time. All right, so we got this discovery mindset. When you walk away from here, I want you to sit there and go, what did Uncle Chrissy talk about? All right, I'm in discovery. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I'm not even sure I know which questions I'm trying to solve. I'm in this state, this mindset of just trying to discover, right, and reveal. One of the things I say, if I say this once, I say this multiple times a day. If I divided your whole tasks into two pieces, product development and customer development, right now, most of you, including me, spend 90% of our time on product development, and I want that to be at least 50-50, and I'd actually prefer it to be 70 on customer development, 30 on product development. When I look back, a question I'm frequently asked is, you've run lots of businesses, anything, lessons learned, regrets? Every business that I've run, sometimes I parachuted into as CEO, is I didn't spend enough time with customer. That's the number one. I should have spent more time. I should have been out talking to customers. I inherited a $22 million software business in Raleigh in 2007. And I just went like, we got to change the product. I should have spent more time with customers, all right? By the way, you can break that down to say, all right, I have an hour to spend on my business tonight. I'm going to spend a half an hour on customer. Like, you can literally bring it down to that. Hold yourself accountable for it. The reason that you have the minimal viable product is to reveal that you guys are in sync with a target group of people, that they see and validate what you see. That's what you want to find. You're not trying to figure out how to scale your business yet. You don't have a business to scale yet. You're just trying to validate that you have a group of customers who see and operate like you do. When you get there, in our world, we call that product market fit. There's thousands of, you look this up on the Google machine, you'll get 1,000 definitions. Here's my definition. God, if I say this once, I say it 1,000 times. I work with some of you in this room. I've said this. All right, you're up and operating, okay? I want to see that your potential first set of innovators, early adopters are using your product. I want to see that they're engaged for at least 3 months, buying stuff, using data analytics, whatever it is, using the app. By the way, Devin, maybe it's just a spreadsheet and a form, right? Doesn't have to be an app yet, right? And they're using it, and they're doing it, and they're doing it. And fit is, if you took it away from them, would they cry? Would they go, I can't imagine a world without this? That's the bar that you want to get to. That's what product market fit is, and you can't start to scale a business till you get to product market fit. If you jump on one of my open office hours, and you're going to say, I'm up and going, I got this thing cranking, like the world is my oyster, Heivly, I want you to invest $1 million in me. I'm going to say, tell me how you got product market fit. And 99 times out of 100, you're going to fail in that answer. You're not there yet. All of this is to get to that place. Investors want to invest when you have product market fit. You have to prove it to them that you have the fit. All right. Lastly, and the part you've all been waiting for, and my favorite picture. I don't know which one I am, the one on the left or the right.
I thought you were Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard you twice. I don't need to hear it again. All right. We're going to talk about networking. I told you guys that this is a cohort. We probably have 30 people in here. And what I'm going to tell you is that I'm 63, soon to be 64, and I didn't learn this till I was 50, and I wish I would have learned this earlier. Now, I also wish that we could create a new word, because raise your hands if the idea of networking makes you shudder, right? I mean, even for me, I'm like terrible at conferences. I'm good right here, I'm bad out there. And the reason of these, why it feels awkward and a waste of my time, I could be building product, because product is everything, right? No. The reason we hate this word is because we think of it as something that's transactional. And we don't have time for a transaction right now. I need something, I want to buy, I need you to do something for me. Why would anybody want to have that meeting? So I'm going to take this away right now, and I'm going to tell you that I believe it's the most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur is get out and talk to people. And to cast a wide net while doing that, because you never know where what I call a serendipitous spark happens. Now, I said I learned this at 50. I moved to Raleigh-Durham from Chicago in 2007, ran that company till 2009, and then decided I was going to start helping build startup communities and help entrepreneurs in 2009. I went and had 275 coffee, lunches, and end-of-day frosty beverage meetings in 5 months. I had learned the importance of this, and I wanted to put it in play for me. Do the math, 275 in 5 months. I can fast forward to today, 10 to 12 years later, and I can tell you I've met with at least 5,000 of you one-on-one. Now, you may say, are you an idiot, right? You may say, how do you have the time for that? And I'm going to talk about my open office hours, which you're all welcome to. I talk to 8 or 10 of you a week. You know how much I learn from you all that goes back into this and helps me redistribute that to you all? Do you know what I learned? I write a weekly blog. I've written 2 books. You're the source of all this stuff. I learn more from you than you learn from me. It's not a transaction. When you sit down with me, it's not like you need something. I need something too. We all need something. It's just 2 people connecting. It's the most powerful thing I've ever done in my life. And I wished I would have known to do it earlier. And I'm an extrovert. So there's no, introversion hold me back. It's not a waste of your time. And the key is building trust. Taking out the idea that it's a transaction, right? That I'm here because I need something and I need it from you. Take the transaction mentality out of it, and it's just 2 people connecting for 20 to 30 minutes on Zoom or a coffee. It's post-pandemic. Try to do it in person if you can. I have a little script, how I lay out my 20 to 30 minutes. But one of the parts is I want to listen to them and I want to understand. And so tell me what's going on. What's your name? Zach. What's happened in your life? No, go. I'm here for you, Zach will say. No. Right, because I'm you and you're me in this role, but, And it's like, no, it's not one way. Zach says, well, I'm running this big business and I'm trying to hire a salesperson. What kind of salesperson you look for? I'm looking for someone, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? My son, my cousin, my neighbor, can I make a few introductions on your behalf? We all have something to give to somebody else. We all have something. That's why it's not a transaction. If you go in thinking that, we're already done. This is the 50-50 thing. And at the end, how do you build trust? Is when, and Zach says, and when I get him to reveal that he's got something I might be able to help him out with because there's something I need him to help me out with, I'm going to then do the thing that he needs help in. I'm going to make 4 introductions the next day to people that I think could be good candidates for his sales position that he's looking for. And I'm going to do it the next day within 24 hours, and that's what builds trust. Now I have a meaningful relationship between Zach and I. That's why it's not a transaction. That's why it's not networking. That's why it's fun. So what does your business need? You're up and running. What are you going to need? Time and money. How about people? Customers, contractors, investors, employees, partners. They're all people. What am I asking you to do? Network with animals? No, people. You never know where it's going to come from. If you try to over-engineer this process, you're going to fail. Success will be a factor of N being the number of people you talk to. All right. This community is building here. I've spent 2 years here. 2 months, yeah. For the last 2 months, it's been like 2 years. No, I've spent 2 years here, 2.5 years, working with various organizations, trying to help build a stronger startup community here. All the assets are here. The assets are sitting in this room. There's now probably 35 to 40 of you. There's places like SoCo and GrowCo. There's this conference, right? You showed up already. Next year, you should drag 3 friends to this thing. There's events, there's monthlies and weeklies. There's a coffee every Wednesday morning down at 5 Points. Just come up, it's free coffee, hang out. Maybe you'll meet somebody. Maybe you'll share what you're working on. Maybe someone will make an introduction on your behalf. Maybe someone will write a check. I don't know. I know it's not going to happen if you're just sitting in your office or your garage or your guest bedroom. Okay? The community's here to help. I believe entrepreneurship is more of a team sport than a solo sport, and you got to lean on people for help. If you don't ask for help, you won't get help, and you'll be slow. And if you waste slow, then you'll waste time, and if you run out of time, One of the things this place has a little bit of an issue with trust. Now you meet with me, you know every gory detail in about 3 minutes. I just found it's easier to be open and transparent, to be, sincere and not hold back. And if you can come in with that kind of more of that, you'll get stuff quicker. Because we like to connect with people that we connect with. And when we connect, we're willing to kind of open up and say, I'm really struggling with this thing. Well, what can I do to help? Maybe it's just listen. Half of the issues in the thousands of issues I've seen are mental. They're not specific, physical, tactical, strategic. We get in our own way. We overcomplicate things. We get preoccupied with the evolved dream. We spend too much alone. Okay? And I can tell you the new networks can be built within 3 months. They're amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right. All right, so here's the networking plan, and then we'll finish up. Get a warm introduction. I just told you I do introductions every week. Probably I have actually a tool just to do introductions that sit on top of Gmail. Know the person you're talking to a little bit. What's your name?
Chris.
Chris. Obviously, brothers in arms here. Chris says, hey, I know you know someone that does this. I'm looking for an introduction into this kind of company or this kind of person. I said, I got 3 people. I make the introduction. Chris, meet Zach. Zach, meet Chris. I think you guys should talk. I'm out. You guys take it away. Spend 5 minutes on LinkedIn, do a quick little search, understand a little bit what they care about. So then we go in there, you're already kind of ahead of the game. Spend half the time listening and half the time talking, and that'll work out. And make reasonable requests. I always, I want to make it, if I'm asking for the introduction, I want to make it easy on them. If you and I sit down and do 20 minutes of open office hours, I'm not writing notes. I know it's more for you than it is for me. If something is for me, then I write it down. It's up to you to then say, hey, here's an email we just talked, here's summarize what we just talked. You thought you'd make 3 introductions and send me your networking ebook, which I do have one. Make it easy on me. Don't make me remember to do that. You need it from me, you do it for them, right? You know what I mean? You take control of the follow-up. My former company at Techstars, one of my partners, Brad Feld, coined the term give first. Now, many of you you're here because you're just starting out or thinking about starting out. Who thinks they're ready to mentor other founders? But guess what? I hear you. How long you been working on your idea?
I've been in business for 7 years.
Right. How long you?
4 months.
4 months. If I'm just starting today, you got 4 months on me. You have something to offer to me. If someone says, hey, I'm thinking about starting something, don't go, oh, what are you worried about? This, and this. Guess what? I did too. Turns out you don't have to worry about that. I've only done it for 4 months or 7 years or 1 year. We all have something to offer. Remember I said half of this is mental. So when you meet with someone, be willing to give of yourself. Elaine. Okay. She's got a website. Maybe I'm the perfect candidate for it. Hey, would you mind just taking a look at it? What do you love? What do you hate? Right? That's an easy give for me. Happy to give. A guy sent me his book to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing. He said, did you read it? I'm like, I'll give you comments. I said, let me get to 50 pages, and then I'll give it back to him. And then I gave him really super honest feedback, kindly, honest feedback delivered kindly. But I'm like, you need to format it because I can't read it. It felt a little repetitive at times, and it was a little depressing. Yeah, we got 3. So what I want you to finish here, and then I'm going to leave, is I want you to think about 2 people that you would make 2 persons. I told you there'd be more. Yeah. Write down two intros. Who would you want to? You heard a little bit about Elaine and Devin, and was there a case? Case, right? You've heard a little bit, but maybe spend 5 minutes after we're done here, just to say hi to people, hear what they're working on. This is how you network, and then say, boy, would you like an introduction to X? Think about that, or think about people that you want to be introduced to that would help you do that. And have that in your pocket so that today, 5 minutes from now, or the rest of today, or go on the Whova app and say, look at all the people and say, I'd like to get an introduction. Can I spend 15 minutes with you? This is the gold. This is your future gold, I promise you. So here's my email and my website. I wouldn't put up there unless I expected you to grab that. If you go on my website, you'll see you can set up go to my calendar. I'm usually booked about 2 weeks in advance, but it's open to anybody. You can grab 20 minutes, grab a time. I also write. You can sign up for my email. I've got a couple books called Build the Fort on Amazon, one for founders, one for community builders. They're written in really simple terms. So, guys, you're getting really good, kind of an active group for such a big room. Thanks for kind of joining in here. And I wish you luck, and I can't wait to see some of you on the Zoom. All right? Thanks so much.